Good evening friends, welcome to PDF for Exams YouTube channel. Today is day 18 and we are studying geography. In this video we will be learning about formation of continents, mountains, few earthquake, volcanoes, how they erupt, what are kind of volcanoes, distribution of continents and oceans. We'll study about these things in today's video. So starting with continents, how these continents are formed, the continents which are presently available on Earth's surface, how were they formed? So there are several theories which explains the formation of our continents, out of which there are a few important theories that we are going to learn in this video. So if we talk about the evolution of oceans and continents, the first theory that was proposed by Alfred Wegener in 1922. He proposed the very first theory which explains the formation of our continents. So what does this theory explains? So according to this theory, in Mesozoic era, around 225 million years ago, there was a single landmass, a huge landmass was there, which he called as Pangaea. And this landmass was surrounded by water from all the sides. You can see on the image itself, there is water all around this landmass, and this water body was called Parenthalassa, and the landmass was called Pangaea. So due to movement of this earth, as we know, our earth rotates as well as it revolves around the sun, and there are certain other factors like gravitational pull of sun and moon. Because of these certain forces and the centrifugal force of the earth, because of rotation, that is we know that earth rotates at some angular momentum. So there are certain forces which exerted on these land masses, and these land masses started breaking away. And after 100 before 150 million years ago, so if we just subtract from here, we'll get around 125 years ago. After 125 million years, this land mass separated into two major continents. The land masses were named as Laurasia and Gondwana land. So this is also given as Angala land in some books, and in few books you will study as Laurasia. And these two continents were divided by a nascent sea. Nascent means a new sea, which was called as Tethys. So the sea which is between these two land masses during 150 million years ago, from today if we calculate 150 million years ago, these continents were split into two parts, which was divided by a nascent sea which is called Tethys. And later on, after 50 million years ago, the land masses started scattering, and finally after today, if we see our map, world map today, or if you see the globe today, you can see how these continents are scattered. South America, North America, Africa, Europe, Asia, India, Australia and Antarctica. We have these continents present today. So these certain forces were responsible for movement of these landed. Those forces were buoyancy force, like ships float on water. So similarly, these land part or land body or land masses floated on water, and they scattered from their origin. The next possible reason which I told is the centrifugal force. So in yesterday's videos we have learned what is the centrifugal force. So generally when some body is revolving angularly, that means if there is some angular momentum in a body, there are two kind of force generated. One is centripetal force, which tends the body to move down inside, and the other is centrifugal force, which tends the body to move outwards. So because of this centrifugal force, as we know, our earth is rotating in circular motion. So because of this angular motion, there might be possibilities that this land masses scattered or broke away from each other. The other possible reason apart from these buoyancy force and centrifugal force is the gravitational pull towards them. Like moon is pulling the earth masses towards itself, and sun has its own gravitational pull, that we know. But these reasons were heavily criticized. Why they were criticized? Because the magnitude of these forces needs to be very high to move the land masses. As we know, our land masses are very huge. If we go and weight these land masses, it would be, although it would be impossible to weight them, but still they are very heavy for these kind of forces to move away or break them away from whatever they were joined together at the beginning. That was when they were Pangaea. So this was criticism, and that's why this theory was not acceptable. But Alfred Wegener gave several reasons to prove his theory. The first reason he gave was coastal fit. So although the complete theory cannot be neglected, there are few reasons which can be accepted, like the coastal fit. Coastal fit means there are certain areas which can fit into jigsaw. Jigsaw means, you know, there is a game with the name of jigsaw. Just a minute, let us move to the map. So if you have seen a jigsaw, something one shape would be like this and the other shape would be like this, and this will be other body mass and this would be other body mass. So when you fit them, they fit together, and these kind of surfaces were found on earth, and that means the continent of the earth. For example, North America fits into western coast of Europe. Where is North America? North America will fix into the part of this Europe. This is the European part, and if you see the North America and place it over here, it will just fix in the way jigsaw fit is two body elements. So this was his first evidence which proved his theory to be true. The other evidence which he gave for the movement of these continent was fossil evidence. So as we know, coals are generally formed near the equator, but now we can see there are no coals present near the equator. So this might be due to reason of movement of continents, that the core or the formation of these fossil fuels have moved from its origin. There are other reasons, that like geological events, that means the rocks and minerals found in the distant land were found to be similar in other planet. So just moving to map will show and you will understand better. So for example, according to this theory, if some kind of rocks or minerals are found in this area, the same kind of rocks or mineral could be found in this area. That means some time in past, these land masses would be together, but due to splitting of these land masses, they moved away from each other, but still the things are present, but still the minerals are present, and fossil of many animals were present in different places. For example, if one animal is found here, the other same kind of element is found here, and those fossils are found to be similar. That means these parts, these two continents were similar at some point of time in past. Next is geological evidence, then paleomagnetism. So these are the reasons or the evidences which proves that continents were once a part of each other. That means they were joined sometime in past, and due to some reasons they moved away from each other. Moving further, so we have seen the hypothesis, how it happens. We're not going to discuss this again. Criticism also we have seen why it was criticized. The next theory which explains the formation of continent is sea floor spreading. So what is this sea floor? So according to this theory, the beds at the sea that we know, we have some, if this is the surface of earth, so and over here if water is filled, so this would be the seabed, and this sea floor started spreading. That means if you remember the interior of the earth, what was the interior of the earth? We'll draw here, again see core, mantle, crust, and over here above the mantle and below the crust there was an layer which was called asthenosphere, or this was molten in form. So that's why these sea floors started spreading from each other, and due to the spreading, the trenches were formed. Like Mariana Trench is a very good example of these kind of trenches, and due to some motion of these oceanic currents, not oceanic current actually, conventional current. So this supports the conventional current theory also, which was given by Arthur Holmes. According to this, if you have seen the example of boiling water, if you place a tumbler of water over heat, if you heat a tumbler of water, what will happen? How would be the motion? Motion would be circular in this way. That means the heater body, the hotter body will move up and the colder part will move down. So this is very simple. As we know, the hotter body or atoms move upwards, whereas the colder or is heavier, that's why they move downwards. So because of the sea floor spreading, there were ridges formed, and because of these ridges, many different kind of landforms were formed, and these continents were also developed. There is another important theory that we need to understand, that is plate tectonic theory. And to understand this plate tectonic theory, we should know what are these plates. So what do you understand by plate? You know that you use a plate for eating. So how or what is the shape of your plate? It may be circular, it may be square, but ultimately it is flat, or somewhere it is flat. It's not necessary that it should be totally flat. For example, if plate might be in this shape, so this area is flat, so this can also be termed as plate. Similarly, we have two kinds of plate. Those are oceanic plate and the other is continental plates. So these plates are responsible for formation of various kind of landforms, like earthquake, like mountain and ridges, valleys. So these landforms are formed due to movement of these plates, and the activities of these plates, due to activities or movement of plates, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes are also occur due to the movement of these plates only. So as I said, there are basically two kinds of plate. The first is a continent plate and the other is oceanic plate. So by the name itself, it is clear. Oceanic plates means the plates which are below ocean. So if we take example over here, this is filled with water. So these plates, so this land mass or these plates would be called oceanic plates, whereas the plates which are on the land, these are called continental plates. If we talk about the composition or characteristic of these plates, so these oceanic plates are made up of basalt, they are very high density. These basalt is very high in density. That's why the weight of this oceanic plate is very high. And this consists of Sial and magnesium. Generally, this is called SEMA. SEMA is the composition of oceanic plate, that is silicon and magnesium. And if we talk about the continental plates, in continental plates it consists of Sial. Sial, Si means silicon, Al means aluminium. So it is lighter in weight as compared to oceanic plates. So these are the types of plates which are there, oceanic plates and continental plates. So there are few major plates and few minor plates. Major plates in size, with reference to size if you see, so there are 6 major plates. What are them? These are Indian plate and Indo-Australian plate, Pacific plate, American plate, African plate, Eurasian plate and Antarctica plates. So these are the major plates. And if we talk about the minor tectonic plates, minor means very small tectonic plates. So those are Cocos plate, Nazca, Arabian, Philippines, Coralline, Fuji plates, Turkish plates. So these are example of some minor plate. Minor means which are small in size, and major plates means which are huge in size. So you see, if you see this American plate, that means the plates which are lying under the country of America. So you know the size of America or India or any of these countries. Eurasia means Europe. So the plate lying under these countries are called the continental plates, and they are huge in size. That's why they are the major plates. Now, as I said, due to interaction of these plates or due to action or movement of these plates, various kind of landforms are formed, earthquakes occur, volcano occur. So these are just due to movement or interaction of these plates. So there are two kinds of interaction of these plates. What are those two kinds? They can be either converging or diverging. Diverging plates are constructive in nature. Diverging means, what do you understand by diverge? When you see diverge means moving away from each other. So when two plates move away from each other, they are called as diverging plates. Whereas when two plates move towards each other, that means if just a minute, let me draw a diagram. So if you, this is one plate and this is the other plate, if they move apart from each other, these would be called diverging, because they are getting diverted from each other. And if these plate moves towards each other, they will be called as converging plate, because they are converging or moving towards each other. Now what happens, what type of landforms are formed due to interaction of these places or these plates? So starting with diverging plates. So whenever two plates will move away from each other, for example, let's take an example of two continental plates. As I said, there are two kind of plates, so there would be interaction between these two kind of plates. It may be between two ocean plates, two continental plates, or there would be one ocean plate and one continental plate. So these kind of interaction are possible in case of either diversion or conversion. So if we consider diversion of the plates, so over here what we'll see, if two plates are moving away from each other, at initially these two plates are joined together and it is surrounded by water. What we saw in Alfred Wegener case, in Alfred Wegener theory, we saw that there was one huge land mass, and that was divided by a nascent sea because of movement away from each other. So that means these plates are moving away from each other. So when these two land plates move away from each other, continental plates, a sea in between would be formed, or a nascent sea, a new sea will be formed. For example, East Africa Rift Valley, and valleys can also be formed in case of these continental plates. Not valleys means sea. If two plates are there and if they are moving away from each other, so they could form a valley. This shape could be formed by divergent moving of two continental plates. If this divergence is the case of ocean, if two oceanic plates are moving away from each other, then what will happen? So we already know. So if this is the ocean and here we have two plates, if these two plates are moving away from each other, so over here oceanic ridges will be formed. Ridges means the shape, the valley, you can say the valley in under the sea. So these ridges will be formed. It will be not in shape of V, but the one plate would be higher than the other plate. So these ridges are formed when there is divergent moving among the oceanic plates. Next kind of interaction is destructive plates or converging. So what happens when both plates are oceanic plates? So we'll take example one, in one case we'll take two plates would be oceanic plates. In other example we'll take when both the plates would be continental plates, and at last we'll see when one will be continental and one will be oceanic. So when two continental plates are colliding with each other, this is one plate and this is the other oceanic plates. When these two plates are colliding with each other, what will happen? As we know, the composition of these plates are different. It would not be same everywhere, because the presence of mineral on the earth's surface or below the earth's surface differs from place to place. So the plate which would be lighter in weight will move upwards, and the plate which is heavier will subduct. Subduct means when you strike two things together, what will happen? One plate will move, one who is lighter will move downwards, and one who is heavier will move upwards. You can take example of collapsing of two heavier bodies or two boys. Let's consider two boys. One boy is very heavy and one boy is very lighter. When they'll run and collapse to each other, what will happen? The heavier body will fall earlier, whereas the lighter body will fall later because of gravitational pull. So even science is also involved over here. Because of gravitational pull, the heavier body will move or subduct downwards, whereas the lighter body will move upwards. And what will happen to that lighter body or the lighter plate, oceanic plate that was moved down? So that body will form magma, and when they will form magma, and if it finds space, so over here, if these are two plates, if this is one plate and this is another plate, whenever this moves downwards, this will form magma over here, and after forming magma, if it finds a space, it will move out of the surface, which will form volcano. And with this volcano, many arc of islands are formed. These kind of volcanic eruption forms arc of island, like Philippines and Japan. Philippines and Japan are body, many islands are there together in Philippines and Japan, and these are formed because of these kind of interaction. That means two continental plates, two oceanic plates are converging each other. Next case would be when one is continental plate and the other is oceanic plate. So as we have seen in the characteristic of both, that the continental plate is lighter when compared to oceanic plates. So for example, this is a land body and this is an ocean body, or oceanic plate or continental plate. When they move towards each other, what happens? The oceanic plate, which is heavier in weight, it will move downwards. This plate will move downwards, and the continental plate will move upwards. Again, over here many kind of landforms are formed. Over here mountains can be formed, trenches can be formed, or volcano can erupt, as it was case in last case, and even some earthquake also can occur. So this is called when this is the case when one continental and one oceanic plates collide with each other. The third case is that when two continental plates collide with each other. In these cases, both plates are continental. Now when both are continental, for example, if two boys are running towards each other, and if their weight is same, what will happen? They will just collide, and they might bounce upwards, or they may fall together. So in this case, what will happen? When these two plates will collide, they will start moving upwards. That means the few part of this plate, few part of this plate will move upwards because of the force, and they will ultimately form mountains. So our Mount Everest and all are formed due to this process only. And there is another conservative plate. So in this case, what happened? Two plates moves horizontally. Till now we have seen the movement has been vertically, but there are horizontal movement also possible. So if this is the surface and these two are the plates, if they are moving, one is moving in that direction and one is moving in opposite direction, there might be a little friction among these two plates, between these two plates. So these are called conservative plates. So this was all about the interaction of plate tectonic theory, what happens when plate tectonics are formed. So these are explained in this part. Next is the mountain. So what is a mountain? You have seen mountain, you might have visited to several mountains also. So mountain, any landform which is above 500 meters. So just a minute, let me draw a diagram. So if this is the normal land, okay, the surface is normal, and if any landform is above 500 of this ground, 500 meter, and the top is pointed, not pointed like conical, but with respect to the other land area, plain area, it is pointed. We always compare with the other body. If we say pointed, doesn't mean it's pointed like needle. No, it's not like that, but it would be pointed with respect to the other landforms or the other land area lying near it. So this will be called as, or can be considered as, mountain. And if we talk about the types of mountains, so they are divided into basically 4 kind of mountain. That can be folded mountain. Folded mountain, we saw how folded mountain are forms when two continental plates converge, then they form folded mountain. The other is block mountain, volcanic mountain, residual mountain. So these are the types of mountain which are divided. So starting with fold mountain, how does this fold mountain or folded mountain forms? So if two continental plates are there and they are moving towards each other, and due to this energy force, when these move upwards, this forms an folded mountain. If we talk about the characteristic of these folded mountains, so these are the newly or the youngest mountain on the earth. Youngest means the mountains which are formed by the process of folding they would be the youngest mountain present on the Earth's surface. And the presence of fossil and sedimentary rocks suggests that the folded mountains were formed after accumulation of consolidated silt and sediments of marine environment. So this also explains that below the folded mountain there are some fossil present and sedimentary, which give evidence that the continental and ocean plate might also group together or converge together to form these kind of mountain. Okay, and there are several kind of folds, water folds. So these folds will be clear by the name itself. First is symmetrical fold. So if you understand symmetry, symmetry means equivalent on both sides. So if one plate is coming from this side, other plate is coming from this side, and if it is folded symmetrically, that means on the both side the folds are equal. This side also the fold is this much, and this side also fold is this much. That means this is symmetrical fold. Other is asymmetrical fold. In asymmetrical case, what will happen? The one side will fold more than the other side continental plate. This would be called asymmetrical fold. Monoclinical fold means the two continents will converge with each other, but only one plate will fold while the other plate will remain as it is. That is called monoclinical fold. Isoclinical fold means the two limbs are so much inclined in such a way that they appear equally inclined and parallel to each other. That means isocline. So if mountains are formed by convergence and this happens, these two sides, the folded side of the each plate are parallel, so this would be called as isoclinical fold. So there are other folds which you can just read by the names, and if you see the image, all the kind of mountains will be clear by the image itself. Next is block mountain. So this block mountain happens or forms due to the tectonic movement of plate. So whenever there is a vertical movement or horizontal movement, these block mountains are formed. So you can see the example over here. When there are two plates, if these are the two plates and due to some upwards or downward movement, for example, if this plate submerged downwards, so after due to submergence you can see the other plate will be still there, but the height with respect to the plates which fall down would be more, and it will form a kind of mountain. So these kind of mountain are called block mountain. Example of block mountains are Black Forest and Vosges in Rhineland. So these are the example of block mountain when they were formed. And why this land area falls? There are certain reasons why this land area falls. It might be because the layer of the surface of the earth or that part would be lighter, and due to some external forces or pressure, this land area might fall and they form block mountain. The other is residual mountains. So residual mountain means the mountains which are formed by the denudation agents. What are these denudation agents? We have seen in last video that these are the external sources which are responsible for erosion of body. So for example, if this is a land, okay, and air is blowing, so if we divide this land into several composition, if this is composed of hard material, this is composed of soil, sands, and this is composed of again hard material, so what will happen when these external sources will blow? For example, if a river is blowing or air is blowing, this will cut down this part, and the remaining part or the remaining body will be called as residual mountain. They are generally this kind of residual. Residual means remaining. Whatever are remaining part are known as residual, and hence these are called as residual mountain. Example of residual mountain are Aravalli mountain. Next is volcanism. What is volcanism? So we have studied about volcanoes in previous video. In this video we'll study about the volcanism. So what is this volcanism? So volcanism is the process of movement of lava or magma from the earth to the earth's surface, from interior of the earth to the earth's surface. So this entire process is called volcanism, whereas the movement of lava, that lava erupts from the earth's surface, that is called volcano, but the process is called as volcanism, sorry. And in the previous video we have seen that there are two types of lava. One is basic lava and acidic lava. This is based on the composition of the magma. So in basic lava the color would be dark like basalt, which would be rich in iron and magnesium and poor in silica. These would be basic lava, and they will form another kind of rocks, whereas the acidic lava, these would be highly viscous with a melting point. Means the viscosity would be more, and if viscosity is more, the melting point will be also more as compared to the basic lava. And now coming to the types of volcanoes. So volcanoes are classified into many types, so according to shape. So there are various parameters on which volcanoes are classified. So if we talk about the shape, so according to shape, the first volcano is cinder cone. So what is the cinder cone? So all these are the kind of opening that are present on volcano. These volcanoes are named as per the opening. So in case of cinder, we can see there is a hollow opening, and because of this is called cinder cone volcano. Next is composite volcano. Composite volcano, by the name itself, it is the composite means formation or combination of two volcano. So this will be called as composite volcano. What is the special point in this composite volcano? In this, magma would be thick and the nature of eruption would be explosive, and magma will come out and ashes will also erupt. So let's see over here. These are steep sided volcanoes composed of many layers of volcanic rocks, usually made of high viscosity lava. We have seen this. And these type of volcano are tall conical mountain composed of lava flows, and other are ejected in alternate layer. So several layers are formed. In the above case, we saw that a single layer was formed, the lava or magma erupted and a single layer was formed, forming a mountain which is called as cinder cone. Whereas in this case, in case of composite volcano, what happens, when one layer comes out, it forms a mountain type structure. Then again, after it settles down, the another layer comes out, and so on. Many several layer comes out, and this forms a conical body which is known as composite volcano. Next is shield volcano. The shield, what do you understand by shield? Shield means the protective part of any warrior. If you have seen in movies, they have a shield for themselves, which is generally shaped like this, and a handle over here. So the volcano which is in this shape are called as shield volcano. So you can see over here the volcano is in shield shape. So in this volcano, the speciality of these volcano are that these lavas are very thin, they are not very thick. That's why they get spreaded over the land mass and form a shape of dome, and that's why these are called as shield volcanoes. Now on the basis of flow of magma, whether or the magma where solidifies, we have seen this in last video also, on the process, on the way, that means where these magma solidifies. So if solidifies within the surface of earth, it doesn't move out of the surface of earth, those kind of volcano will be called extrusive volcano, and the volcanoes which move out of the earth's surface, those will be called intrusive volcanoes. And plutonic volcano modifies solidified deep inside the earth crust. So these are the kind of volcanoes which you have already seen. Sorry, I think I have told opposite. Extrusive means the magma which solidifies above the earth's surface, whereas this intrusive volcano are the part which solidifies near the surface or near the earth's crust. That means if here a volcano is erupting from here from the mantle, and this is the crust. So the volcano which are solidifying near the earth's surface will be called intrusive. The volcanoes which will be solidifying outside the surface, earth's surface, will be called extrusive, and the volcano which solidifies near the origin only, or the inside the earth crust, they would be called plutonic volcano. Now again, there is last classification of volcano based on periodicity. That means whether they are active, dormant, or extinct. So these are classified in three parts. One is active volcano. Active volcano means the volcanoes which are active currently, something or the other is always ejecting or moving out of those volcanoes. Those will be called active volcano. Example, Mount Karami, Mount St. Helens. So these are the Mount Ozen, Japan, Mount Pinatubo. These are example of active volcanoes. They are still active. Dormant volcano means those volcanoes which have been erupted sometime in past, and there are possibility, that means it keep on showing like some ashes, gases keep on erupting, and it shows that it can erupt anytime. It's not dead till now. So those will be called as dormant volcano. That means if they are sleeping for a time, they can wake up anytime. Next is extinct volcano. So these volcano are the volcano which have no chances of eruption again. Once they have erupted and their life is over, those volcano are called as extinct volcano. Now related to volcano, there is one very important question and very important information that you should know. Is volcano good for earth or it's bad for earth? So if you see generally what happens, general consideration of volcano would not be good. In volcanic eruption, what happens, if it is erupting at this place, if this is the place or the earth surface is erupting, it will complete or finish all kind of vegetation present all around, because it is very hot, the temperature is very hot. It will completely finish all the vegetation present around it, and it also releases some air pollutant. So obviously it might be bad for earth. But no, there is one plus point of this volcano, is that volcano is also considered as safety valve of a earth. So if you have seen pressure cooker, in pressure cooker there is a safety valve. Why the safety valve is made? So that whenever there is extra gas in pressure cooker and it's not able to release through that vessel, that extra space is given for removing of those pressure, if it is not removed due to some jam or some issue is occurred over there, so that's why the safety valve is given. In that excess pressure inside the cooker, the safety valves break and the excess pressure comes out. Similarly, this is natural safety valve for earth. Whenever there is excess gas or excess energy present inside the earth, this volcano helps in emission or extinction, so that those kind of extra gas from the earth can come out and earth would be safe. It won't explode because of extra pressure and energy inside the earth's surface. If we talk about the distribution, you can see where are all the volcano distribution. You can just read on the map. it's factual. You need to understand everything is not factual. This mid-oceanic ridge are the one which has been made due to the diverging of plate we have seen earlier, and there are other several volcanoes which are present. They form arc of island like Philippines and Japan. It is somewhere here. So these are the distribution of volcanoes. You can read them over here where they are distributed. I'm not going through the distribution. Now comes the earthquake. We have studied about seismic activity in the very first video of geography. So earthquake is also formed, or earthquake also erupts due to movement of these plates. So whenever the plate moves vertically, horizontally, or however, there is vibration on the earth's surface. Several kinds of waves are produced, and these tends to form or production of earthquake. Earthquake, there are several causes of earthquake, not only the movement of plates but volcanic eruption in some cases. Due to volcano also earthquake forms. Faulting, what happens, how does our faulting mountains are formed? Whenever two plates are moving vertically or vertically, then displacement of rocks are done, and in that case also earthquake happen. Plate tectonics, which I've already told. And human intervention with nature. As we know, in everything is naturally present. If we extract minerals and ore in excess, that would disturb the configuration of earth's surface. In that case also earthquake can erupt. Now talking about the seismic waves, so we have studied these waves in last video. There are two kind of waves, one is body wave and the other is surface wave. We have already discussed this, but still I am discussing again. Body wave and surface wave. This body wave is subdivided into two waves, primary wave and secondary wave. What are these primary wave and secondary wave and this surface wave? Each have their own characteristic. With the help of these waves, we are able to recognize the interior of earth, that means how our earth is formed, only with the movement of these waves, because these waves move differently. For example, how did we understood? We took an example of a cube, that if let's take example again. If there are certain people standing over here, and this is a complete cube, okay, so if this is a cube, several people are standing here. If someone pushes, if this person pushes this the person next to him, the force will move straight, and if this person moves backward, again the force will move straight. So this was called as primary wave. This wave could travel through any medium like air, water or solid. All the mediums were there for traveling of these kind of wave. Whereas in case of secondary wave, what happened, they only could travel through solid. They were not able to travel through liquid or air. That's why they are considered to be known as interior of earth. We can easily know what is the interior layer of the earth by using these waves, because we know these waves only travel through certain areas. If this is the core, it consists of liquid, only primary wave will be able to travel, secondary wave won't be able to travel in this layer. Similar is the case with mantle, and finally the crust. In crust also all the waves can surface wave moves. The last wave which was very destructive in nature was surface wave, and it moved along the surface. And there was one more important factor, that was frequency. How we measure frequency? So frequency is the number of waves which can be formed in particular time. So if we draw a diagram over here, these are the waves, these are the another waves, and these are the another waves. So if we see, if we assume the time to be 1 minute over here, we can count the number of waves. So these are the primary wave, these are the secondary waves, and these are the surface wave. So the surface waves are very low frequency, whereas the primary wave has very high frequency, and this is very destructive in nature. The most destructive waves from the earthquake are surface wave. These are the waves responsible for destruction from earthquake, whatever are happening. Next is measuring of earthquakes. So these are measured with help of seismograph. Seismograph is a device which uses the vibration of these waves and measure the intensity of earth, and these are given on Richter scale. It is rated between 1 to 10. There is another scale, Mercalli scale, but most preferably generally this Richter scale is used for measurement of any kind of earthquake whichever erupts on the earth's surface. Now talking about the distribution of earthquake zones. So these zones are distributed all over the world depending upon the types of continental plates and the movement present. So it is very clear, because of the movement of plate these earthquake occurs, or due to volcanic eruption. So wherever there would be more number of volcanoes, possibility of earthquake in that area would be more. For example, Japan. In Japan we can see there are number of volcanoes erupting, and over there earthquake also occurs. Generally earthquake occurs at that place. So this is all about the earthquake. If we talk about the earthquake zone in India, so these are divided into several zones. Zones means which are the safest zone or which are the dangerous zone. So over here these are divided into zone 5, zone 4, zone 3, zone 2. So what are these zones? Zone 5 comprises of entire northeastern Indian, part of Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttaranchal, run of Kutch, Gujarat, North Bihar, Andaman, Nicobar. So these are just zones according to which our places are divided, and what are the meaning of these zones. Let's see that. So Bureau of India Standard, this is the organization or a body which gives it's based on seismic history. So the history has been measured till now, whatever or what kind of earthquake erupted. Using those seismograph history, these zones are divided. So seismic zone, these are divided into zone 2, 3, 4, 5. Zone 5 is the most seismically active region, while zone 2 is the least. That means in zone 5 most of the earthquake occur in zone 5, whereas in zone 2 very least or less chances of earthquake is possible. So this is all about today's video. I hope you have understood the concept. If you have any issues, any doubt regarding the topics which has been discussed today, you can always ask in the comment box. Thank you for watching. See you next video. Till then, goodbye.